Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Facebook Live here, Meet the Podcasters. I'm Diane Ray, co-founder of mindbodyspirit.fm podcast network. And we're doing these Facebook Lives to introduce all of you to our amazing podcasters. And I'm excited to jump into the conversation today because I love what these ladies are doing with the Wholeness Network, the content that they're providing. You've got to check it out. Go to thewholenessnetwork.com. It's a whole treasure trove of video. And we are so proud to be hosting their podcast on mindbodyspirit.fm. Mechelle Wingle and Chalene McGrath, they are the hosts and the masterminds of this whole thing, the Wholeness Network. And on the podcast, they explore all the ways to live life whole, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. So they cover everything from science to the intuitive, from A to Zen. They've got some amazing, interesting guests and incredible information. So if you're into women's empowerment, the Enneagram, sound healing, manifesting, mediumship, spirituality, all the stuff that's, in my wheelhouse, you're talking my language here. You're going to love this show. So I hope you guys check out the podcast and subscribe wherever you get your podcast, or you can listen right on our mindbodyspirit.fm site. So I want to welcome both Mechelle and Chalene joining me from Utah, where I hope it's a beautiful spring day there.
It is.
Is it?
It's
the nicest of the year. Yeah, warm.
I love this time of year. It's a beautiful day here in San Diego. So I'm in a great mood and just really happy to bring you guys on. So before I knew we were going to talk today, so I wanted to check out some of your episodes. And I was just listening to your most recent one. And Mechelle, you were doing an incredible interview with Jeffrey Olson, who experienced an amazing near-death experience. He went through an incredible tragedy. I don't want to give away the whole story because I want people to listen to the episode. It's just amazing. So I know that you ladies both love story and storytelling, and you believe that everybody has a story to share. So I really appreciate what you're sharing on the podcast. So I wanted to just get, the quick info 411 of how you guys got together and came to create this amazing platform that you have, the network and the podcast.
Yeah. So probably about 2015 or 2016, I had my very first Reiki session, and I had my Reiki session with Robin, who used to be a part owner of the Wholeness Network. And I was her teacher, I was her student, and I was her client for a little while. And then I reached out to her one day and I just said, I think we're going to work together or something. And sure enough, 2 years later, we started the Wholeness Network, and it was great. It's been great. And then during the pandemic, she started working on her coaching program, and she created her own coaching program, which is really great. It's called the Heart Coach Institute. And we had known each other. We'd grown up in the same town, but didn't really know each other. So it was kind of, but it was good. And then kind of meanwhile, Chalene had come to me and was kind of my student and was kind of one of my clients. And then she reached out to me one day and said, hey, do you think we should work together? And so it was like really kind of woo-woo that the same thing happened, how I was able to be this connecting link between these two amazing women. And we're here. So she started about 2023 and has had the most amazing ideas for the podcast and for the network. We have a website and an app with lots of videos and things. And so she's just come in and just been really helpful. It was kind of not fun to be on my own. And it was just kind of this great gift to have her come and join the network.
Well, and I have studied a little bit of human design. And human design, I'm a projector, and it kind of bugs me sometimes. So I don't like to talk about it a lot. But one of the things about projectors is they need to be invited to do things. And so Mechelle offered that invitation to me. And I feel like that invitation just opened things wide up. It's been a really great partnership. I'm so pleased and honored to be part of it.
I love what you're saying, because I feel like I'm more comfortable as the Indian. Like, I love to collaborate rather than being the chief and just kind of ordering people around. And so I love working with other people and collaborating. And it's so empowering and so valuable when you meet someone who's on your wavelength, right? And you guys just vibe and you go, okay, I know how I can bring my gifts and talents to the table. And then you have what you're good at, you have what you're good at. And I totally understand this, because I'm my business partner, Tina, and co-founder, I'm in awe of the things that she knows. And so we learn from each other. And it's great when you find the yin to your yang kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
So
I didn't even mention that we lived in the same neighborhood and didn't know each other either. So it was like even that was in common. So it's kind of this woo-woo thing of how we came together.
It's really woo,
well,
yeah.
right? There are no accidents, right?
Right,
Things kind of
right.
are meant to happen, and a lot of times they do. Now, were you both those girls that were interested in spirituality? Like I was the girl at the slumber party that said, "Oh, let's do the seance. Let's break out the Ouija board,"
Yeah.
And they're like, what's up with you? Or were you interested in those kinds of things or asking questions?
Not at all.
I wasn't.
Not until you have
No.
a fall, not until you have a crisis. And then, it steers you in the direction that I feel like I needed to be. So yeah, the answer is absolutely no. I came kicking and screaming. But it's been a pleasure, and it's been enlightening, and it's been a way for me, I'll let Chalene talk for herself, to surrender to something bigger than myself and something beyond my comfort zone. And it's been the best growth I've had in my life. So yeah.
And I would say, like I kind of came from a really strict religious background, so kind of prescribed that spirituality for me. And then when I kind of started to let go of that a little bit, then I was like, I don't know what to do. And so it just kind of came at the perfect time. Like Mechelle said, when you kind of get to the end of your rope and you're like, okay, something else needs to come in. It really did just come in for me. So.
I think sometimes that happens where you'll have a personal shakeup in your life. Sometimes maybe it'll be a divorce or a death in the family or a tragedy or, addiction or something that's just going to rock you to your core and make you question, is this all there is? Asking yourself, those big questions. I think sometimes you sail through like your 20s and maybe your 30s. And then by the time you hit 40, life's kicked you around a little bit. And then you start saying, maybe I should look into some things. And then once you start opening the door and exploring all these incredible things, like you mentioned Reiki, and, I remember I was like the biggest, Reiki skeptic of the world. I thought this is total woo. And then when I had an incredible Reiki experience, I'm like, wow, why doesn't everybody know about this?
Right.
So those things do happen. It'll kind of shake you up. And, I love on your show. So if people go and they look at all your past episodes, you talk to a lot of authors and other people in the creative arts, and you guys love reading, I can tell, because you bring a lot of cool authors onto your show. Do you feel that creativity is important to lifelong happiness, to kind of wake up your creativity and enhance that?
I think so. Is it, Mechelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it Brene Brown that said, if you're not creative, it kind of turns into anger? Was that her?
I think that's right.
Recently. Yeah. And I've been thinking about that. Like I've always been a creative person. Like it's just kind of how I'm wired, I guess. But I think that creativity is like essential. And it's just even recognizing the ways that it's already showing up in your life and enhancing that. And also if you're, I just think it's everywhere. As women, we are born with a womb, and that is a creator part of us. But I also think all humans kind of have that need in them. Like that's how we've kind of progressed in our world, is through creation. So I think it's really important and an important part of our not only the Wholeness Network, but just of life that we kind of enhance.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. I recently went to it's so important, and we forget, we forget to be creative and play and have fun. And I recently went to an event, like a retreat, and we were doing decoupage. Like, when's the last time I like glued things, onto a board and dug through buttons and bows and played with colors? I'm like, this is really fun. When I was younger, I loved Play-Doh, and, you do things like that as you're a kid. And then when you get older, you kind of forget to just do some creative things. And so I think it's definitely important. Also, you do love to share on the podcast about intuition and tapping into it and recognizing it and strengthening it. And you bring on some great guests. And how do you guys work on your own intuition or cultivating that for yourselves?
Yeah.
Intuition, I mean, it's almost like this inner guidance system, this inner GPS that we really take for granted. And we have to practice listening to it. We have to strengthen it. And those first few times, it's hard. It's scary. It's a lot of self-doubt. but as you work on it, so every day, I get up, I have a morning routine, and I journal a lot, and a lot of my journaling is maybe somebody would even consider it more channeling than journaling. I'm not journaling about my day. I'm listening and I really trying to use my intuition to see what is up for me. I find if I don't do it in the mornings, then I do it in the middle of the night, and I want to sleep. So I kind of made this promise that I would do it as much as possible. But yeah, it's a practice, and it's something that you have to carve out time for. And some days you don't, and you give yourself a break, and then you start over. But really getting close to and listening to those sensations in our bodies, those are the body's the communicator. It's how we get our information. And sometimes we're so busy we kind of don't like our body, and so we stop listening. But that's the intuition comes with those sensations, with those, so whatever tool you want to use, there's lots of different tools. Whatever feels like it just sits right inside you. That's the best way to effectively practice using your intuition and making it a friend.
Yeah.
Do you like to do that too, Chalene?
Well, I like to do it. I don't think it's a practice, I would say. Like I've just recently, Mechelle and I've been watching Love on the Spectrum. And
yes, I love that show.
So good. I think they're so in tune with themselves, and they're like authentic.
Yes.
And like that is the intuition. That is getting in tune with those parts of yourselves that you recognize and want to, expand. And yeah, it's such a good show. Oh my gosh.
It is. And it's showing how they're, it's like no BS, they'll just say what's on their mind, or, there's no filter. And I love that. I mean, do you ever use, maybe oracle cards or, meditation techniques?
Oh yes, constantly. I just bought myself a new set. I'm a little bit addicted, but yeah,
I have several.
Yeah, I love them, and I use them regularly. It's weird because I used to think that they were bad, and so making that switch, it scared my husband a little bit when I first started to get him. But I said, listen, this is helping me to like be a better version of myself. I'm not farming it out anymore. So I really like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a common misconception, right?
Yeah, and we pull a card whenever we podcast. We pull a card for each when we're together podcasting, and it's really important. And it's surprising how much it pays attention. It matters to what we're talking about. It's kind of wild, but yeah. I mean,
sometimes it can be spooky.
Yeah,
how accurate that it can be, and I love to do that and use the cards. I have several different decks, and depending on which one I'm vibing with that day, I'll use that and just pick it. And it's really more about kind of self-awareness and just tapping into what you're feeling or what you're thinking and how things might roll out, rather than trying to use it as a divination thing, like, oh, this is going to happen, and I'm fortune telling or something like that. So I think those can be really valuable tools, definitely to try. So you ladies are business ladies, you're doing it. You've got your business going. And I think it's so empowering when you see other women out there, that are trying to get businesses going or helping others. And you share stories from women that are working, trying to achieve success in business and life. And it's tough. Like women, we're juggling everything. We're the super women, right? It's like, here we come to save the day. Yep. And, we've got kids, we can do it all. I mean, what are some tips that you share with your podcast listeners to help women feel more empowered, especially, these days, things are so crazy. It is easy to get, sidetracked.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a really good draw from the last question, because things like that, cards, those are feminine. That's how we work, and it was so freeing to be like, we are creative that way. We like beauty. We like physical things that we can touch, we like, and so I think for women, it's really important for that to come from the inside. I think it's not natural. I think we're very much groomed to take a second seat, to not put ourselves out there. Or if we do, that we're being, we play that line between being far out there and being showing off, or being humble. And I think, what if we try just being ourselves? And so one of the things that we try to do is bring up some of our humor sometimes, some of our vulnerabilities, to try and be real, because I think if we're more alike than not, and if we as women can learn to kind of help each other out, give each other the benefit of the doubt, be supportive, live in an abundant mindset. Abundant is different than fair. Fair divides evenly. Abundant means enough for all. And that's really our one of the things that we really, really cling to, is we want to believe that there's enough for everybody to succeed, enough for you to have all that you want, enough for me to have all that I want. And so when we kind of get that ego out of the way, then I think it just feels better. It just feels more kind and gentle and more feminine, actually, like more collaborative.
And not pitting against each other, right?
Right.
Yeah.
There's no need. There's enough.
No.
But that enoughness needs to feel inside. Sorry, Chalene, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, I have a Reiki practice, and I always ask, I kind of have the people that come in do part of the things that I would normally do in Reiki, because I say I want to work myself out of a job. So I want to teach you all the things that you need to do so you really could do it yourself. You can Reiki yourself if you want to. I'm here to help you practice, but I think that's the empowering part, is let's get you to the point where you can do the stuff that we can do to help you. And like you said, Mechelle, I think you didn't quite say it, but you've said this before to me, of there's enough room at the top for everybody. Let's let all of us come to the top. It's not a competition. It's not a standing on someone's shoulders. It's all of us can be there together. And I love that idea.
I do too. And letting go of those feelings of lack and that fear, because I think you're right, Mechelle, that we should believe in an abundant universe, and that there is enough for everybody, and that we're stronger helping each other as women, lifting each other up, rather than, the old cliche of the cat fight and, being pitted against each other. I'm hoping that those old ideas are going to, fade away, and that there's this new, this new energy, coming in. So, you've got amazing guests on the podcast. Like I mentioned, the Jeffrey Olson, which you guys have to listen to this. And you had said, your authenticity does come through, Mechelle, between you and Chalene on the podcast. And I think people are going to hear that, and the humor. You've had so many people on, luminaries, teachers on the podcast. So is there one that stuck with you that you really learned something and kind of came away with it and went, wow, that was really impactful from one of your guests? Is there, I know it's hard to pick your favorite, but one that you could mention?
Yeah. We've had, this year we were able to have Gay Hendricks on, and he talked a little bit about that upper limit issue, and was just really kind of started our year off in such a good way. And Christine Lang's been so great. We've had Brian McLaren on. He's been so kind to us. I don't know if anybody know who he is. He works with Richard Rohr. Amazing. I can't even think. Lisa Campion, we've had her on. She's been so helpful. It's been, we are just so blessed with amazing, amazing guests. And it's just amazing how the universe opens up and they come into our lives and they just fit what we have in
and
store.
They say yes.
And they say yes.
And you just have to ask, right? Yeah, I love that you had Gay Hendricks on. I think he's the OG, like him and Catherine. They're they've been teaching and are just such great people, and their message is so amazing. And he's an incredible fiction writer. I've read some of his fiction. He did this whole, private investigator series where the lead guy is kind of like a modern day kung fu character. I don't know if you should read it if you haven't. It's called what was it called? The Rules of 10. And the lead character is an investigator who was a former Buddhist monk. And it's great. I'm like, when is the TV series going to come out? This was a few years ago. And I'm sure he's probably been wishing that as well. But he's incredible. So what do you like about podcasting as a medium to connect with people?
Well,
I think it's fun. I think it's fun.
I think it's fun. I was thinking about that, and Mechelle and I Marco Polo all the time. I don't know if you use Marco Polo, Diane.
I have, yeah.
It's so awesome to be able to have a conversation with someone in your own way, at your own timing. And I love that's what podcast offers. It's just there waiting for you when you need it. And I think that's really special. I'm so glad we have podcasts now. Like, I know everyone's starting one, but like everyone should have a voice. Like, let's all do it. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I love a podcast. I remember trying to tell someone, in fact, trying to tell Robin at the beginning what a podcast was, because they were just kind of new. Like, we got to do a podcast. And so, yeah, they're great. I love it. I love the conversations. I love learning. It just fills me up.
I think it's great too, to your point, Chalene, that, it gives people a voice, and it's relatively easy to get one started. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money. So there's not really a lot of barriers to entry. There's maybe a little heavier lift with video, but even that, you can still probably get something going. But it gives people a voice and a freedom. And I love the amount of variety. I mean, if you want to listen to a podcast about crocheting or raising chickens or whatever you're into, I guarantee you that there's a podcast for that, So I love the people that we're gathering on the network, and the work that you're doing to give people the exploration of, all these different ideas in spirituality and different modalities and information that's out there, because there's so many incredible teachers that are waiting to be explored, and podcasting does make it easier. So what have you learned as far as maybe some self-care or wellness tips from one of your previous guests that you could share? Anything that stands out?
Yeah, I mean, the daily, well, first of all, we're the guest that does that. We have that library of hundreds and hundreds of videos that you just turn on a video, and there's, if you just take a few minutes a day for self-care, it can make all the difference in the world. It's just feeling good inside your body. That's it, feeling really, really good inside your body. So, putting on a quick video, a guided meditation, it's always that you can't go wrong. There's one always available. So you grab the little app, put one on, and you won't be disappointed. That always works for me, at least. What about you, Chalene?
Well, I was going to say, I think one big thing is getting quiet. And I think a lot of our experts have mentioned that, or at least a lot of our interviews too, mention that quiet and that stillness, because those answers sometimes aren't going to come when for me personally, when I'm plugged in and I'm constantly, doom scrolling and stuff like that. Sometimes I do get some answers, but the really profound ones are from those quiet moments.
That's so true. I had a meditation teacher I had worked with, this guy named David G., and he would always say this quote from Lao Tzu, do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear and the right answer arises by itself? And I loved it so much, I even had it cut out and I put it on my desk for a while, because that's something I always struggle with, as I'm not the most patient person, and sometimes you just have to wait. And that, I will say, that's one thing I've learned from Tina. If she watches this later, she'll always say, okay, let's percolate on that. Let's wait. I'm like, okay, let's do that. Where I'll be like, let's fire off that email, and sometimes it's better not to do that. So I have learned that. So I agree. Silence can be such a powerful thing. Well, you guys are just so cool for talking with me today. And I really want people to check out your amazing treasure trove of content that you have on the Wholeness Network. Make sure you're subscribing to the podcast, the Wholeness Network Podcast. You can listen on our website, and also find you guys on every podcast app. And also check out your amazing library of videos, and keep doing what you're doing. And we're so thrilled that we're able to host you on mindbodyspirit.fm. So thanks for sharing some time with me today. And goodbye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been great. We appreciate you.